Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another episode of the Mavpuckcast, the first episode of the 2025 calendar year. I am Jon. I am here with Bridget, who is making her third appearance on the Mavpuckcast this season. And Bridget and I have just returned from the Cactus Cup. It's the first time they have hosted a college hockey tournament in Palm Springs, Bridge.
It was wonderful. I loved it. Why did I come back to freezing temperatures?
Because we had to record the latest episode of the Mavpuckcast. I'm telling you what, if we just did written content, we could do it from anywhere in the world. Probably do this if we brought all the gear with us, but we didn't do that. So we'll get to all of the fun festivities and the games at the Cactus Cup here in a moment. But before we go any further, we'd like to thank the founding members of Mavpuck.com for their support this season. As I am talking, you are seeing a scroll of the names of those who have donated to Mavpuck.com and the Mavpuckcast for the 2024-25 season. And if you would like to support our efforts here at the Mavpuckcast and at Mavpuck.com, be sure to visit Mavpuck.com/donate to help out. But turning to the Cactus Cup, like we said, inaugural event out there in Desert. Yeah, they had some merch this time. Sometimes at these things, they don't, but they had shirts, they had caps, and these were like the caps were $15, the shirts were $15. So I thought that was pretty good for a tournament. They didn't have anything specific with the teams on it, but that's okay. They also didn't have any pucks, which I know that there were some UNO fans who like us to track down pucks for them when we're on the road. They did not have pucks. But that's okay. It was nice to have a chance to get some of this merchandise and nice to have a chance to be a participant in the first ever Cactus Cup. Turnout wasn't great, but I hope they continue to do the event. UNO's first game in this holiday tournament was against Holy Cross. We got the late game on Friday night. The other game, the early game, was Michigan Tech and UMass Lowell. UMass Lowell is a top-ranked team in Division I hockey, Bridge.
Yeah, and they were the host of this tournament too. So I was kind of surprised that we got the late game. It was nice.
Yeah, there was a lot of kind of information going around. We had heard a couple weeks ago that UNO was the host school, and then we heard that no, they weren't the host school, that UMass Lowell was the host school. So we're going to go with the UMass Lowell part. Who knows? Probably, after we record this podcast, we'll find out that Holy Cross was the host school. I don't really know. But going into that UNO game, the first game, the Michigan Tech UMass Lowell game, was won by UMass Lowell. So they were going to the championship game. So in our late game against Holy Cross, we were waiting with bated breath to see if we would make that championship game. 4:30 into the first period. Sam Stang puts UNO up 1-0. No hesitation, heads up play in front of the net. Great to see Sam Stang get UNO on the board there, Bridge.
Yep, and a great pass from Tyler Rollwagon to Noah Ellis, who then passed to Stang, made that possible. So great teamwork from those guys.
Absolutely right. But 6:15 into the first, Holy Cross's Matthew Kersonis ties it up 1-1 on the power play. He had two Mavs on him, but was able to put the puck home. And then not that long later, 8:32 into the first, Matt DeBoer puts Holy Cross up 2-1. Again, another power play goal for Holy Cross, Bridge. It was 2-1 Holy Cross after the first period.
Yeah, and the real, I think, issue there was Griffin Ludke was called for a major penalty for contact to the head, and then shortly thereafter, UNO was called for too many men. So that second goal in that series of events was really a 5-on-3, and it's really hard to defend on that. Kevin Radler was doing great in net, but it's just really hard to overcome that, and so UNO finds itself in a hole after one.
Absolutely. Interesting to see Radler get the start. He played in the exhibition game the week before against University of Manitoba at Baxter Arena. So I think we all figured that this was an opportunity to get Radler some non-conference action before we dive into the second half of the season, which is all NCHC play. So a good opportunity there. But like I said, 2-1 Holy Cross after one. Bridge, it was scoreless in the second period on Friday night. So it's 2-1 Holy Cross after two. Then going into that third period, 3:45 into the third, freshman Miles Hillman ties it up 2-2 for UNO. Israel skated the puck into the zone and dished it to Hillman. Beautiful goal for the Mavs to tie it up there early in the third period, Bridge.
Yeah, another example of how Miles Hillman's speed is really a killer for the Mavs. We really like to see that coming into play. He's really kind of picked up his momentum as we go into the second half of the season here. That was his fourth goal of the season, and we're all tied up at 2.
Absolutely right. A good skater and a good leader in junior hockey. We're hoping he becomes an elite skater at the collegiate level. So we've been enjoying watching him throughout this freshman campaign for him. Late in the third, 14:09 into the third, Holy Cross's Timothy Heinke puts the Crusaders up 3-2. The goal was in front of the crease, and it was on the power play. Tough position for UNO to be in the latter stages of that third period, Bridge.
Just a rough place to find ourselves. Charlie Lurie took an unfortunate tripping penalty, which led to the Crusaders' power play. And yeah, you just don't want to give a team like Holy Cross too many opportunities, because they will end up capitalizing on it. And they sure did, to take that 3-2 lead.
Yeah, special teams play was not our friend during that Friday night game. But a little over a minute later, 15:23 into the third, defenseman Jacob Gavin ties it up 3-3. The goal came in transition. Jacob shot it high on the Holy Cross goaltender's glove side. Great to see him tie it up there. UNO holds on, maintains that tie. So it's 3-3 at the end of regulation. And something UNO is all too familiar with out in the desert this season, Bridge. We're going to that 3-on-3 overtime. A lot of fans will remember back to the Icebreaker tournament out in Las Vegas to start the season. UNO won 2 3-on-3 overtime games in thrilling fashion. And early on in that overtime period, Bridge, I wasn't sure if we were going to get it done. We seemed to be on our heels a little bit, but 1:37 into OT, junior forward Cam Mitchell skates the puck into our offensive zone. He puts it home. UNO wins the game 4-3 in overtime.
Yeah, I was a little worried at the start of overtime. Omaha just didn't have any luck on puck possession. But boy, Cam Mitchell just made a great play off a fabulous pass, and just was able to rip it past the Holy Cross goaltender, who I think that's got to be one of the funniest scenes from Friday night, is just the Holy Cross goaltender sitting on his butt in the crease, just wondering what just happened here.
Yeah, I think we were all impressed with Cam Mitchell's goal, and Omaha went 0 for 5 on the power play during the game. Holy Cross went 3 for 4. They were 75% on the power play. So yeah, by all accounts, Holy Cross should have been able to upset UNO in that game, but it didn't happen. Great job by the Mavs to come back, gut out an overtime win against a very feisty and very motivated Holy Cross team. So UNO was headed to the championship game against UMass Lowell on Saturday night, Bridge. Tell you what, it was an interesting game. The first and second periods of that championship game on Saturday night at the Cactus Cup were scoreless.
Yeah, and it wasn't that there weren't chances in those first two periods. Jacob Gavin, Stam Stang, Harrison Israels, all of them had chances through those first two periods. Miles Hillman rang a shot off the post about 6 minutes into the period, and then it got really kind of chippy in the second. You mentioned those penalties. During one of those, Brock Bremer had a chance that went off the crossbar. So Omaha was putting some shots on net. And so, again, both chances for both teams, but it was just really interesting that it remained scoreless through two.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, and I alluded to this, but they did shake things up on the power play unit. Four forwards and one defenseman trying to get some offense going. But it just didn't quite come to fruition. We only had a total of 2 shots on goal during those power play opportunities during the first 2 periods on Saturday night. Tell you what, rough start to the third period for the Mavericks. The game was decided in the first 6 minutes of the third, Bridge. Everybody was talking about this. 1:55 into the third. Lowell's Scout Truman, which is a fantastic college hockey name, skates it into the zone, 1-on-1, and puts the Riverhawks up 1-0. And then 4:44 into the third, Bridge. Jack Robilotti puts the Redhawks up 2-0. Mavs had trouble moving the puck out of the zone during that sequence. And then this really was the killer. Not that being down 2-0 was anything to be excited about, but 28 seconds later, after Robilotti's second goal, Lowell's Scout Truman gets his second goal of the evening to put the Riverhawks up 3-0. He shot the puck through congestion in the slot, so it's 3-0. UMass Lowell early in the third period.
That whole sequence of events was kind of set up by the fact that Omaha had drawn a penalty towards the end of the second period. It was, I think, 11 seconds left in the second period. So they started the third period on the power play, but were unsuccessful in scoring. And then it was just literally seconds later that Scout Troutman, again, I agree with you, one of the greatest, hockey names we got going right now, put in that first goal for UMass Lowell. So again, not having success on the power play really helped lead to that sequence of events, which, like you said, turned a 0-0 score into 3-0 UMass Lowell in just a matter of, like we talked about, under 5 minutes.
And just want to correct you, Bridge. His name is Scout Truman, not Scout Troutman. I know that there were a lot of fish-oriented names in the various lineups during the Cactus Cup. Specifically, Holy Cross had a couple players that had fish-themed names. They have a player named Jack Stockfish on their roster, so I can completely understand the Scout Troutman reference. But Scout Truman, but late in the third period, 12:39 into the third, Griffin Ludke narrows the lead to 3-1. He shot it from out near the blue line. Great for UNO to get that goal in the latter stages of that third period. And then, Bridge, in the closing minute of play, Brady Risk narrows it to 3-2. Mitchell fed the puck across the crease to set that up. A great play by Mitchell and a great goal by Brady Risk. So it's 3-2 in the closing minutes. God, we were just hoping that they could find a way with the goaltender pulled to tie the thing up and then go to 3-on-3 overtime, which Maverick fans love to see this team go play in the 3-on-3 overtime, Bridge, but it wasn't meant to be.
No, I think if they had been able to play for another minute or two, they probably would have gotten that equalizer. Actually, Coach Cabinet pulled Simon fairly early. It was like more than 3 minutes left in play, and they were trying to get that, but just wasn't meant to be. So Mavericks end up Coachella Valley Cactus Cup runners-up. Always the bridesmaid, John.
Yeah, it would have been cool to win the first ever Cactus Cup, but that honor goes to the UMass Lowell Riverhawks. So congratulations to them. The Mavs go 0 for 9 on the power play during the tournament. I'm sure that the coaching staff hates it when we bring up that the team went 0 for 9 on the power play, but this has been a talking point about this hockey team this season as it regards special teams play. But Bridge, fun to go out to the desert, fun to see UNO be a participant in this first ever tournament. Fun to get to hang out for a couple evenings at Acrisure Arena. Probably be cool to see an AHL game in that arena. I noticed that in February, they're going to be hosting the AHL All-Star Game. New arena, lots of amenities. We'll get to that in a moment. But before we do that, we've got to talk about our players of the week for the Cactus Cup. Bridge, who did you like as your player of the week for the festivities out in Coachella Valley?
I thought there was actually a lot to like from several different players. It actually made it kind of difficult to pick one player because there wasn't anybody who had just an absolute standout performance, but there were certainly a lot of guys who were contributors. And after you pick yours, we can talk a little bit about some of those maybe honorable mentions. But I've got to go with Harrison Israels. He had 2 assists, which is a season high for him this weekend. He was also critical in the faceoff dot. And I wrote this down so I'd make sure I got it. He had 14 faceoffs on Friday and he won 71.4% of them. And on Saturday night, he took the majority of the faceoffs and won 13 of them with a 56.5% faceoff win percentage. So again, really critical, setting up a couple of those goals, and then his ability to win faceoffs was critical. Now, I know that he isn't having the scoring production that he had when he was with the Nanooks. He had 20 goals last season with them, and obviously has 2 goals and 5 assists so far this season. But he's played in all 18 games for the Mavs so far this season. But beyond that, he's just such a nice guy. So when we were up in St. Cloud a few weeks ago, and folks who are regular watchers of the Mavpuckcast will notice that he was responsible for getting our niece Scotland a puck before the game in warmups. And I know that that makes such a huge difference for her. And I've seen him doing it with other little fans out there. And so both for his performance in the games this past weekend, as well as for just being an all-around great guy, my pick is Harrison Israels.
Yeah, Israel's a Nanook teammate, Brady Risk, transferred in this season. Both 2 terrific guys. It was great to see Harrison have a good weekend out at the Cactus Cup. And as you mentioned, 2 goals and 5 assists this season. I've got to go with junior forward Cam Mitchell. He had 1 goal and 1 assist on the weekend, including that game-winning goal in the 3-on-3 overtime against Holy Cross on Friday night. He has 5 goals and 3 assists this season. He has been a pleasant surprise. Did not get to play very much during his first 2 seasons as a Maverick. So yeah, great weekend for him.
Yeah, I agree. Again, 5 goals in the last 8 games for Cam Mitchell. He's really turning it on. And we appreciate that because offense is something that the Mavs have struggled with in the past. So it's good to see him lighting the lamp. Also want to give a shout out to Griffin Ludke for getting his first goal of the season, especially after getting ejected from the game on Friday night. To come back and get a goal on Saturday night was fabulous. He was second leading point producer on the team last season and hasn't quite been able to get the production going so far this year, but we're hoping that that changes. He has 1 goal and 4 assists so far, but we're hoping to see more from Griffin in the second half of the season.
As you mentioned, he got ejected from the game on Friday night for putting the elbow to the Holy Cross player's helmet. They're going to eject you for that stuff. I will say overall, the officiating this weekend was it was kind of a dumpster fire a little bit. I hate to go after officials, but there were some questionable calls and questionable no calls. So yeah, interesting weekend there. I'd also like to mention junior forward Tyler Rollwagon had 3 assists during the Cactus Cup. Tyler is, of course, one of my favorite players. So he has 2 goals and 6 assists this season. So excited to see what's in store for him and the other players that we mentioned as we dive into the second half of the season. But before we do that, we've got to talk about some things you missed at the Cactus Cup. And Bridge, it was pretty exciting. You and I had never been to Palm Springs before. We flew out of Omaha on January 1st. We flew out in the early afternoon from Omaha's Eppley Airfield. We had like a 4-hour layover at the Vegas airport, which, as far as I'm concerned, was just excruciating. It was hot in there. There were like a million people in there. Ugh, it wasn't great, but we did get to eat Shake Shack. So that's always a fun thing to be able to do. On Thursday, before the Cactus Cup started, you and I actually drove. We actually drove to the coast. We drove to Laguna Beach, where we had visited in 2023 with our family when we had gone out to Universal Studios and Disney. So we wanted to go back. We wanted to see the ocean. We wanted to see the beach. It's kind of difficult to see either, Bridge, because when we got there, it was foggy.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I don't know that I saw that in any of the forecasts ahead of time, but you could not see 100 yards in front of you. And so that was kind of a disappointment. I love Laguna Beach. I'm going to go back, but that was not the coastal California experience I was expecting.
Thankfully, it cleared up a little bit while we were there. I recorded about a 30 some odd minute video for my walking channel on YouTube. And by the time we got to the end, we were able to walk down onto the beach and get a little bit of the ocean. It had kind of burned off a little bit, but it came back when the sun set. So I felt bad for all of the people there who were probably there for the first time trying to experience one of the famous beaches along the California coast and weren't able to enjoy that. Like most of the time, obviously, this weekend that we spent was at the Cactus Cup itself. Lots of interesting things about Acrisure Arena that I know we want to talk about. One of the things off the top that I thought was interesting, Bridge, was that a golf cart company was one of the official sponsors at the games. Golf Cars of the Desert had an ad during each game. You know you're in a resort community where golf is very popular when a golf cart company is one of the sponsors at the arena and at the hockey games.
It was very effective. I want to buy a golf cart from Golf Cars of the Desert.
Absolutely right. So, Bridge, what were some of the things that you noticed during our trip and during our time watching those games at Acrisure Arena?
So you didn't know this in advance, but for Saturday night's game, I had seen an advertisement for the Silvercrest compound, and I didn't really know much about it. I read some things online about it and decided to go ahead and purchase passes for this Silvercrest compound for Saturday night's games only. I didn't buy them for Friday. It was an add-on that you could do for either or both nights. So I did it for Saturday, not knowing what to expect, but I really enjoyed the space. It was an outdoor area off to the side of the arena that was, fenced in, that had 9-hole mini golf, a half court basketball set. It had fire pits and tables, and it had this amazing burger bar that you and I just had to try out.
Yeah, and I will say for the folks, if you ever do go out there for a game, it was pretty fun. Now, remind me, the price was about $30 per person to go to the compound at the games.
Yeah, it was $27.50 a person, and then there might have been Ticketmaster fees on top of that. I can't remember exactly, but $27.50 was the base price per person.
And then it was 18 something per person to get the burger bar, right?
Yeah, and the burger bar included a fresh cooked burger, and then they had all kinds of toppings that you could choose yourself and condiments. And then I am a huge fan of homemade kettle chips, and so they had a giant, bowl of homemade kettle chips. And I think I strategically puzzle fit as many of them as I could on my tiny little plate.
Yeah, absolutely right. And there's also a bar there, apparently with your wristband, which, if you're watching the video version on YouTube, I'm showing you right now. Apparently, when you showed your wristband, your first drink was free, which we didn't know. We didn't know that. No, no, we found that off. We found that out from David Offit later. So we did not get our drinks for free. So that's one note. If you ever happen to be out in the desert and get to enjoy it, kind of neat. You have to be in the right setting, right geographic setting in order to have an outdoor gathering area for fans. So kind of a neat deal. I enjoyed it. And you're right. I did not know ahead of time that you were going to do that. But as is the case with you, I have no idea half the time what's going on until about 5 minutes before it happens. And you let me know what's going on. Overall, Bridge, what did you think of the arena? What did you think of some of the amenities? What did you think of the facility itself?
I thought it was beautiful. You did a walkthrough video before Saturday night, and there were a lot of folks that were on Twitter/X who noticed the comparison to Baxter Arena. Again, very similar in terms of concourse layout, that sort of thing. Not so much the second deck because we weren't up in that area, and their press boxes, they don't have a separate press box area. In fact, the press was behind us in our section in 121. But overall, I liked it. One of the things that I didn't think about at the time that was brought to my attention later was they had one giant video board that was kind of to our left from our seats. And somebody pointed out that if you're sitting underneath that video board, you have to actually stand up and turn around to see a video. There was no central scoreboard. And again, since we were sitting in the middle, I didn't notice that, but I could see how that would be a negative, especially if you're sitting on one of those end zones.
Yeah, kind of a low roofed facility. I was thinking the same thing as that person who pointed it out. I thought, why isn't there like a replay board right in the middle of the arena? And I think looking at the kind of the configuration of the arena, most of the seats are just the single bowl down below. And obviously, the way that those lower bowls are built in this day and age, the pitch tends to be pretty shallow. So they're relatively shallow seats. And then it was surrounded on essentially you had the kind of the luxury suites on both sides of the facility. So yeah, there was that one end where the DJ was that was this giant replay video board thing. But if you were sitting on that end of the arena, you would have to kind of turn around and sort of crane your neck in order to see what was going on. So you would miss part of the game. So yeah, a very, very interesting configuration. I think you said it seats about
11,000
people. And sadly, there weren't more people at this event. So I hope that that doesn't potentially spell trouble for the Cactus Cup going forward. They definitely need to get North Dakota in that thing because they'll bring a lot of people wearing green. And one other thing I wanted to point out, we talked about this merchandise we got. We got it at the team store, and the team store is actually, it's right near the entrance to the arena, but you actually go outside across a little courtyard to get to the team store. So again, something that you would only see at an arena that's in the desert in Southern California.
Yeah, we actually made a lap all the way around the interior of the arena looking for the merch stand, and then finally we're directed outside. So I'm guessing they might be missing out on some sales because there wasn't any signage that pointed to the team store, at least none that I saw. And then going outside again, I'll take any excuse to go outside in 70-degree weather during a hockey game, but it was just kind of an interesting configuration for that.
Yeah, absolutely right. And as you've kind of alluded to, there were various concession options there, some grab and go options. You had a couple bars across the ice from each other on one end that people could get drinks, kind of stand and watch the game, which was kind of cool, open to anybody. Their music was also played by a guy who was a DJ at one end of the ice, so that was a lot of fun. And I will tell you, Bridge, the volume there was excruciatingly loud.
Something that some Huskies fans mentioned to us as well. So it wasn't just us. The other thing that I'll say too is we've seen more arenas doing these grab and go areas. And I actually took a video of Riley Bean experiencing it. It was quite a large area. It had popcorn and other kinds of snacks, and then a full cooler. And then they had one of the concession stands actually inside that area as well. And then it was manned with 3 self checkouts. So I can see maybe, I know Baxter has a small grab and go area, but I could see that potentially becoming something that they would look at for the future because it's pretty efficient then for folks who are used to doing, self-serve grocery checkout to be able to help themselves.
Absolutely right. Bridge, any parting thoughts? You got anything else for me?
We got to talk about the Renaissance Esmeralda.
Oh, okay. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about our team hotel. Obviously, it wasn't at the Cactus Cup proper, but we stayed in the official tournament hotel, the Renaissance Esmeralda at Indian Wells, which was advertised during the games at the Cactus Cup. And it was weird staying there. It was a beautiful hotel, but there were only 3 of the 4 teams participating in the tournament were actually staying there. UMass Lowell, Holy Cross, and Michigan Tech were all at the official tournament hotel, and UNO was not. UNO was staying in Rancho Mirage. I don't have any idea, but it was really weird as a fan because fans of the other teams would come up to us and say hi, and they'd be like, is your team not staying here? You and I ran into players from the other team, very nice young men, said hi to them during the event, as well as fans of these other teams. So, yeah, beautiful hotel. You and I really enjoyed it. I think the team would have really enjoyed it too.
It sounds like their hotel was lovely. So I still don't know why they ended up staying at a different resort hotel than the official tournament hotel. But I think that they would have enjoyed their time at the Renaissance Esmeralda. It had this gorgeous pool deck that had several fire pits, this amazing beach area with 0 depth entry for their swimming pool. You and I are swimming pool people because we run our neighborhood pool. So I'm always looking at the amenities that they offer there. It was amazing, but I don't know why our team was not staying at the tournament hotel, and maybe we'll never know.
We may never know, but like you said, a great hotel. Bridget really enjoyed the seating areas with the fire pits. In fact, they typically turn the fire pits off around noon each day, and Bridget actually convinced them to come out and turn the fire pits back on for her. So we enjoyed that. But yeah, great tournament, great hotel. We just, of course, want to thank the organizers for putting it on, and thank UNO and former UNO coach Mike Kemp for finding a way to get UNO into this inaugural Cactus Cup, because it was a lot of fun, Bridge.
And I can't wait to go back. Can we go back next year?
She can't wait to go back. She did not want to leave. Before we talk about going back to the desert, we've got hockey this upcoming weekend at Baxter Arena, our first conference action of the new year. Colorado College is coming to town. CC is 10-7-1 overall. They're 4-3-1 in the NCHC. Interestingly enough, they have gone 1-5 in their last 6 games. They played number 10 Providence, number 4 Denver, and this last weekend, while we were at the Cactus Cup, they got swept out in Colorado Springs by Augustana, a team that gave us a lot of fits early on in the season. So Augustana head coach Garrett Raboyne really has those guys going in his second season. Bridge, what are your initial thoughts on Colorado College going into this series?
Well, I was surprised in the early goings of the 2024-25 season when people were predicting Colorado College was going to be, a top 10 program, but they have definitely shown flashes of brilliance along the way. Like you said, they've run into some tough opposition these last couple of weekends. But I warned everybody about Augustana. I knew that they were better than they were projected. And so Colorado College should have listened to me on that one as well. But in conference play, Colorado College swept Arizona State. They split with St. Cloud and they split with Denver. So they're pretty evenly, matched with where we are. So I think this is going to be a very interesting weekend. Now, one thing that came out of the Augustana series is that Caden Mbarico, who had started every game last year for Colorado College and had been the starter so far this season, he did not start in net on Saturday night. And I know probably they were trying to shake things up and get something going. But I was shocked to see that he wasn't in net because he has been an incredible asset to that Tiger team.
Yeah, and I wonder if they were wanting to mix things up, give their freshman goaltender a chance to play. This is a big series for UNO to set the tone for the second half of conference play. Colorado College currently is sitting fifth in the NCHC with 13 points. We're sitting in seventh with 11 points. So there's a lot on the line this weekend. This should be a gritty, gutty series. Colorado College, of course, is led by Chris Mayotte, a very talented young head coach who is in his fourth season with the Tigers. He is 53, 66, and 9. I'll tell you, last season, we had a tremendous playoff series in the NCHC first round out in Colorado Springs that went 3 games. Our guys were on, IV drips during the series to try to stay healthy and hydrated. It was a series that went down to the wire. We kept them from making the NCHC finals and making the NCAA tournament as a result of that series. So, Bridge, some players to watch. Leading point producer is defenseman Ty Gallagher. He has 4 goals, 9 assists, and 28 blocked shots this season. Second on the team in points is junior forward Noah Laba, really talented forward for Colorado College. He has 2 goals and 10 assists this season. And in net, as you mentioned, we expect to see junior Caden Mbarico, incredibly talented, one of the top goaltenders in the NCHC. He has a 2.11 goals against average and a .920 save percentage. But as you alluded to on the Saturday game against Augustana last weekend, freshman Carson Musser, who is a Utah draft pick, made his collegiate debut and stopped 42 shots against the Vikings. He has a 3.06 goals against average and a .933 save percentage. So it'll be interesting to see, depending on how the series goes, whether it's Mbarico both nights or whether we see the freshman in net.
Yeah, they called that Saturday night game a goaltender's duel. I think there were over, almost 90 shots on goal between the two teams. So looking at this upcoming weekend, Colorado College, they score by committee. You mentioned, the players to watch. There's 3 players that have 5 goals each, and then they have 3 players with 4 goals. So there's not, unlike some of the other teams that we played where there's like 1 or 2 top guys, they're going to have to defend a lot of different players to keep the Tigers off the score sheet. They're averaging, I think, 2.7 goals a game. We're averaging 2.5. So I don't expect this to be necessarily a high scoring affair, which again, Omaha's been in a lot of defensive battles so far this season. There's just a lot of folks that you have to cover when there's not, 1 or 2 top guys that you're trying to defend against.
Right. When you look at their season totals, you mentioned the goal scoring and you mentioned the number of goals. They have scored 49 goals this season and they've allowed 42. UNO has scored 45 goals this season and allowed 44. So these are teams going into this series who potentially are very evenly matched. They're not the kind of teams, like you said, that have got, 1 or 2 guys that are big point producers in the NCAA this season. So I've got to ask you, what do you think is going to happen in this this first series of the new calendar year at Baxter Arena against Colorado College. Do you think we're going to sweep the Tigers? Do you think we're going to split with the Tigers? Or do you think we're going to get swept by CC coming in here to Baxter Arena this upcoming weekend?
Well, you alluded to it in your analysis. They're pretty evenly matched teams. They have very similar records in the NCHC. They're only a couple of points apart in the standings. Every point is going to be critical, but I'm going to say that we split this weekend with the Tigers, and I think that we're going to get the victory on Saturday night. What's your prediction?
I'm with you on this prediction. I think that that's a sound prediction. I think we'll get the win on Friday night. And then I think we will lose on Saturday night. This could be a close, hard fought series for UNO. I have got to get over a cold. I don't know if I sound stuffy on this podcast or not, but somebody gave me something on that trip this weekend. So right now I am pumped, so full of vitamins and nutrients. I don't know what to do about it, but I will be ready to go this weekend. And I hope all of you are ready to go this weekend. Friday and Saturday's games against Colorado College at Baxter Arena will be at 7 p.m. Central Time, Bridge. I noticed that one of the nights is sponsored by the Big IIAO, which, fun fact, is actually an organization that I used to do work for back in the day.
And the Saturday night game is sponsored by Coca-Cola, and it is Princess and Superhero Night. So I don't know what's all in store, but I hope you feel better by then.
Of course, if you're not able to come to the games, you can listen to the games on 1290 Coil in Omaha or anywhere on the Varsity Network app. Mike Valancourt and Terry Leahy will, of course, have the call, and you can watch the games on NCHC TV. And be sure to follow us on our social platforms. You can find links to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Mavpuck.com, as well as back episodes of the Mavpuckcast. But till next time, Bridget, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.